The chair recognizes Senator Smith. Senator Smith, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I'd like to spend a little bit of time today just talking about, I believe, what our responsibilities are as people in position of leadership, the examples that we're setting for our young people. And just recently it was reported in the media that our Premier was being criticized, and she was told to, quote, take ownership of the problem. And when I read that and heard it, I thought that was a little bit odd, because at the same time she was being criticized for not taking ownership of the problem, she was in fact taking ownership of the problem. And I kind of likened it to sitting in an airline at 30,000 feet and a voice comes from the back of the plane from a passenger shouting up to the pilot, you know, you have to take ownership. Well, believe me, the pilot at the front of that plane is the one that's qualified. The pilot at the front of that plane knows where the destination is, and the pilot at the front of that plane doesn't need some passenger in the back row saying, take ownership. So I just thought it was a little odd. And when it comes from people in position of leadership, I do wonder at sometimes what our young people take from a comment like that, and they must wonder to themselves, you know, what's going on. But it doesn't really stop there, because all around at the same time, another former public figure called the entire government incompetent. And that creates a problem for us. It doesn't create a problem for the government per se, it creates a problem for Bermuda. And I believe it's a problem big time. Because at the same time that our Premier, Business Bermuda, ABIR, and all the other leading financial and reinsurance figures are overseas trying to, you know, put the best word in for Bermuda, to bring business to Bermuda, to employ our young people, we have a figure calling the entire government incompetent. Now, what happens to that one word? Zing, around the world on the internet, everybody reads it, everybody sees it. At the same time, we are trying to build for our future, for our young people. And again, I think our country and certainly our young people deserve much more than that. Particularly at a time when our young people are uncertain about the future, there's uncertainty for some of them about jobs, and they're uncertain about how they can best contribute to the future. And that's what they get. They get the passenger in the back row of the plane shouting, take ownership, and they get the comment that the entire government is incompetent. And that's what they're hearing, that's what they're reading, that's what they're, you know, that, I really do question whether that is the way to go when we as a country are all in this together. And you know, I've got a little bit of experience in hiring young people, training young people, promoting young people, and I've got to say that at every stage of their development, they look up to positions of people in leadership, no matter who it is. And they just want a few things. They want to be heard, they want decisive action, and they actually tell us as leaders, you know, it's okay to change the course every once in a while. So what do we have when we wrap all that together? What we're getting right now is we have a responsible government that is listening to the people. We have a responsible government that is correcting the course that we're on. And we have a responsible government that isn't afraid of decisive leadership. And fourthly, we have a responsible government that is increasing the level of accountability of those who work in government. And the culture of accountability that the current government is creating, Madam President, I would put forward the view that it is unrecognizable from that of any prior government in this country. So this culture of accountability that's being created now is unrecognizable from anything that we've had in the past. That's what young people look for. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a promise made and a promise kept. So it's really curious that the criticism comes at a time when we're seeing acts of decisive leadership. So I say this to young people, Madam President, that you do have a voice with this government. You have leadership that listens, that analyzes and acts, and you have leadership from those who work with her. And these young people, I believe, can take confidence that they have a leadership environment in which they can contribute, talk to, and their voices will be heard. And to really push aside all that shrill on the side, which is really not going to get us very far at all. I'll finish with this one little quote from a famous abolitionist, Harriet Tubman. And for me, it kind of demonstrates perseverance and innovation at a time of crisis. And what she said was this: we must keep going. If we get tired, we must keep going. If we get hungry, we must keep going. If we get scared, we must keep going. And if we want to taste freedom, we must keep going. Madam President, I'll conclude with our young people are at the forefront of what we're trying to do, that they're going to see decisive leadership. We are listening, and we are with them, and we will be making a better future for them. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Smith.